The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this broadcast belong solely to the authors and guests and not necessarily the North Canton City School District staff and organizations discussed during the program. Thank you, and we hope you enjoy the podcast episode.
Hey Hoover, it's Lyla Cosentino.
And Maggie White.
And welcome back to the 5th episode of Hooverhighlights. Safety is a big deal in schools. In a recent survey, it was found that 67% of public schools have recorded at least one violent incident in 2022, and adding up to almost 900,000 incidents. Luckily for us, our guest today is always here making our schools safe and helping to prevent incidents like these. Officer Ataya from the North Canton Police Department and Hoover High School's resource officer is here with us today. So hi, Officer Ataya. Could you introduce yourself a little bit for us?
Good morning, ladies. I'm Officer Ataya. Most of the kids in the school call me Officer Mike.
Thank you for being here with us today.
Yes,
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
So, can you talk to us a little bit about your experience in school growing up? Did you have like a resource officer, anything like that?
So when I was growing up in school, we had DARE officers for the most part. And then as we got into the high school, and I graduated in 2003, we did start seeing SROs come a little bit more traditional, but they had a variety of schools. They weren't dedicated just to one building. With everything that's been happening over the years, you're now starting to see more schools place an SRO, an individual one in each building, which is making the school feel safer, the kids, the parents, the community in general.
Did you grow up around here?
I did grow up around here. I spent 2 years at St. Thomas for high school, and then I spent my final 2 years back at Glen Oak, where I grew up with all my friends.
Oh, that's
okay,
awesome.
nice. So it's local.
Yes.
Did you know that you wanted to be some sort of police officer?
Originally, I did not. I did always have an interest in it, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Finishing high school and then going into college, taking basic courses, and I did get an associate's degree in business. Towards my last year of college, it was I saw the advertisement for police academy. I was like, well, you have to either take so many classes to have a full credit hours, and I didn't want to take any classes that I didn't need. And then I saw police academy. I said, hey. I said, at least I'll learn the laws and learn a lot of things. And because it was something I was interested in, I actually excelled in it very well. I was one of the top people in the class. I ended up getting 2 awards in police academy, and I just ran with it at that point.
Wow, congratulations.
Yes. So what was your training like?
So training was 5 days a week, maybe 6 actually, I can't remember, in police academy. And it wasn't just sitting behind the desk all day. I mean, there was a lot of that. We had teachers. Our teachers were actual police officers, prosecutors, sheriffs, police chiefs. Medics came in. We did have physical training, and that was like some of the jail sergeants that would come in, and we had defensive tactics training. So, because not everything revolves around what you carry on your duty belt. You have to rely on, your mind and your body to be able to handle the job. So they did, physically prep you, and, they taught you pretty much basic jiu-jitsu and whatnot as well. So
that would be such an interesting class.
That would be.
It was very fun actually too. And to give credit to the sergeants that taught that class, anything they required us to do, they did it with us. And we're wearing like gym shorts and gym shoes. They're wearing combat boots, and they're definitely not dressed to be working out, but if we had to do 100 push-ups, they did it with us. They're and they were better at us at the time. But they shaped us how they wanted to shape us.
How long did it last then?
I think it was about a 9-month program.
Oh,
that's pretty short.
Yeah, but they were longer classes though. Like they were 4 or 5 hour classes a night. I think Saturday's class was an 8-hour class a day. So, and then of course we had firearms training as well, driving school training. You have to learn how to pursuit drive and.
I never would have even thought of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of ground that they cover, and the hours have gone up since I did it. I mean, I went to, I think it was 2008 roughly is when I was in police academy. So I mean, the hours increase every year, and now that I'm actually in the job, and I'm with North Canton now for 11 years full time. I've had about 2 years part time and 2 years as a volunteer with the sheriff's department, but they do make you go back for continuous training every year. We do have to do so many hours a year. So, yeah, because the laws change and then the rules of laws change, and they have to update us on all that.
Oh, yeah.
So then do you pass the academy by, like, do you take a test or
You
what?
do. You have to take a written test. I can't remember what the minimum score was. I know I got more than that, but you have to take a written test and you have to take a physical test. You cannot take the written until you pass the physical, and the physical is timed as well. I mean, and it's different settings for each age group. Like, I was in my 20s at the time, so I think I had to run a mile and a half in 11:58 minutes. I had to do 30 sit-ups in a minute, where they had your hands interlocked behind your head and you had to touch your elbows to knees, and then you had to do 30 push-ups in a minute, where someone would put a fist out and you would touch their fist as you would go down. So
I'd fail that part.
Yeah. I think I'd know all of it. I've seen videos, so I want to see if the myth is busted. But do they tase you when you're in the academy?
So not in the academy. They didn't do tasers in the academy, but the police department did. When we first got tasers in North Canton, it's not a requirement for all officers to be tased, but I did ride the Lightning. I wanted to know what it felt like, because I want to know if I tase someone, how quick are they coming back after me or whatnot.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie. I mean, when you get tased, you're going to find out you have muscles in your body you didn't know existed. Everything is flexed for about 3 to 5 days after that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was like, everything was just firm and tight, and I'm like, wow, there's a muscle there that I didn't know existed. So
3 to 5 days?
yeah, you were.
What were the pain levels?
So the pain only lasted for 5 seconds. It's the ride of that taser, the ride of the Lightning. I mean, when you're getting tased, you feel every 5 seconds of that, and then afterwards you're fine. But it does take you a few seconds to get your wits back about you.
Oh my gosh.
So I mean, if someone's on the ground and you're giving them instructions and they're not doing it, it's like, well, from someone that's been tased, it's like, give them a second or two to comply, because they're not thinking straight yet.
That is so crazy.
That is crazy. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I would have been brave enough to do it.
No.
I'd probably want to know, and then after I'd regret it immediately.
So I did do it a second time as well, because the taser works in 2 functions. It works like you guys probably seen on TV, where they shoot the strings out at you and it catches you. Well, we can actually remove that part and we can zap you like a stun gun, is what they call it. So that's more for like muscle compliance. So if someone's, for example, is laying on the ground and I'm trying to arrest them and get their hands behind their back, and they're just, I'm not moving my hands. If I just pull that out and zap them, they're gonna move real quick.
Oh my gosh! But that doesn't. That
wasn't as bad as the first one. Yeah, the first one was a long 5 seconds.
I bet.
Oh my gosh.
That is so funny. Okay, so talk to us a little bit about your path after you graduated from Police Academy.
So after I graduated Police Academy, I ended up moving out on my own. And I was becoming a young adult. I was a young adult, but I had moved out on my own at that time. I started working. I started working at a friend's father's gas station for a little while till I could find a police job. Because when you finish Police Academy, you have 2 years, 1 or 2 years. You have to find a police job that will accept your commission, that will accept your license, even if it's a volunteer position. If you can't find somebody in that time frame, I think you have 6 months after that. Then you have to do a refresher course in Police Academy.
Oh, okay.
And then if no one takes you a year after that, you have to do Police Academy all over again. So it was very critical to find someone to hold your position. And at the time, not a lot of places were hiring, and I was not willing to move out of the area because I had a fiance at the time, and it just wasn't in the cards. So I started working at a gas station for a while, and and that came second nature to me because my dad had 2 stores growing up, so I knew how to run that off the top of my head. There was no training required for that. And then I was only there for a few months before I went to a security position at Malone College. So I was working at Malone College in security until I found another job. So I was doing that for a little while, but it was a conflicting schedule. Mm-hmm. So I actually went back to my old college job, which was pizza delivery driver. So it worked better with the schedule and with everything I got going on because, as I had mentioned earlier off the mic, I've been DJing for 26 years. So I had to kind of fluctuate, like, okay, paying the bills and doing this. I know this is the route I want to go, but I needed to get somewhere. And I did that for a couple years, and finally North Canton was hiring, and I put in my application, and I got a phone call on a Sunday morning to come in for an interview.
Yay!
So then were you, like, working patrol or, like?
So when you first get on, they do put you in training, you know, and it's an extensive training course that they do. North Canton's actually known for their training. So they put you through several different phases of training with different different field training officers or instructors, and each one has their own way of doing things similar, but, you know, you get to see it from a different officer's standpoint. So it's a lot of patrol work, you know. Obviously, you know, you are behind the desk doing all the computer stuff. And then when I first started, not everything was on computer. We actually had to handwrite all our reports. So now we're at the point where everything is computerized, and, you know, if you know how to type, you're pretty quick. But yeah, you're in the car, you're looking at different things as you're driving, you know, because the primary goal is not necessarily just making traffic stops and giving people tickets, you know. You're out there in patrol to protect the city, protect the citizens. And, you know, when you become older and you have a house, yeah, you're going to want to see a police car eventually drive by and know, okay, the police are coming by, they're checking on us. My kids are outside playing. Especially in North Canton, the citizens do appreciate that a lot. But
definitely.
Patrol is a big part, making the presence known, you know, checking on businesses, going through the neighborhoods, you know, and then responding to your emergency calls in the meantime. So
I never think about the patrol, like, being like, oh, it's, like, also for, like, now that you say that, that makes sense. But I always think they're, like, waiting to, like, pull someone over or something like that.
Being high school girls.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, yeah, when when you first get on the job, it's exciting to do a lot of traffic. And I did a lot of traffic. I can't remember the year it was. I was a full-time officer, but I did get awarded for Starr County Safe Communities. I was Officer of the Year for most not necessarily drunk driving, but impaired driving. So they could have been drugs or alcohol, but they said that year that I seized more guns than they saw in North Canton, at least, that they saw in 30 years. Because when you're pulling over that car, you have no idea what's in the car, you know. So, and when you're dealing with an impaired driver, there's a lot of things that have to go into place, a lot of different types of paperwork, especially if it's an impaired driver and an accident. So now I have an accident report, a traffic ticket, a criminal report. I have to impound the vehicle. Before you impound it, you have to inventory it, so they can't say, well, I had a gold Rolex in there and all of a sudden it's gone, Mr. Mike. You know, so, you know, and your body camera's running as you're doing all this. You know, there's other officers there. So, but, you know, it's protocol. It's what we have set up in place to do all these little protections and whatnot. And as you go through, sometimes you may find illegal, you know, narcotics in the car, and sometimes you may find a firearm in the car. And that year, that was the case for me. I had over 30-some arrests in just that area that year, I believe. So.
Wow, that is intense.
That is intense. That's crazy.
So how did you go from that to school resource officer?
So I was working night shift for about 5 years, and I'm trying to think. It was Officer Harnack that used to be the school resource officer, and at the time they were trying to figure out a lot of things. I know Officer Phil Taylor, he did step up and he became the main resource officer. And there were 7 school buildings in the district. And that's a lot for one person to cover. And then as Mr. Windorf came in as superintendent, he said, I want at least 2 school resource officers. And when the position became available, I said, you know, I'd like to try that, you know, because working the road, working patrol, North Canton, a lot of people like to walk and run, and you see the same citizens every day, and you start building a relation with them and whatnot. And, you know, younger teenagers, kids, they see you, they start to look up to you, and it's like, you know, like, hey, like I'm kind of interested in this. And when the spot became available, I put my name in the hat, and they gave it to me, and we tried it out, and it's been a good fit ever since.
Wow.
That is awesome. So what does your daily routine look like as resource officer?
So my daily routine, it's not an official routine because the job changes every day. You just never know what we're getting into that day. But, you know, wake up around 5 a.m. in the morning, start getting ready for work. I get here early. I try to get here before everybody else. Mrs. Thomas in the main office, I can never beat her here. She's always I'm getting her emails in the morning before I'm even fully dressed. But she's here and sending out the sub list and everything else before anybody else, I believe. But I get here, you know, I start, you know, checking messages, records, I start checking 911 calls, so I know if any of the, and I'm specifically looking for kids in the school to see if 911 calls come in. We do have a program in place. It's called Handle with Care. And if any 911 call comes in and it's attached to a residence where one of the students lives, we do look into that to see, okay, did somebody just accidentally not put in the alarm code right away, or did something happen? Was it medical or worse? And do we need to have a talk with them and follow up, or do I need to talk to principals or guidance counselor? And we don't, that information is confidential. It's something I actually can't even share with them what it is, but we call the program Handle with Care. So if something comes up, I'll say, hey, this is the student, and I want to put a handle on care with place to them. And it pretty much just lets people know, like, hey, they're going through some stuff. Give them some time, because your private life is all your guys' private lives, and we have to respect that confidentiality. So.
Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know we had that here. That's awesome.
So.
Is that in all the schools?
It's not in all the schools. It's in a lot of them in Starr County. It's starting to become more popular, and we do act like now. The majority of the kids that go to Hoover actually live in the Greentown area. So, I'll have to make contact with like the sheriff's department or Uniontown sometimes just to figure out what's going on, or and if it's something that they think it's imperative that I know, they'll actually reach out to me. I'll actually have a voicemail or an email that I have to follow up on with them.
Oh wow! So are all the police departments in like tight communication? Is it?
I would say so. Yeah, we all play well in the sandbox together. So, yeah. If we need to let another officer know something or another agency know, there's no hesitation there. It's just get on the phone and call their agency or their dispatch and let them know, hey, I need to get a hold of Officer so and so, and we need to talk about this. And there is sometimes there's information that they can't give you either. They're like, you have to do a formal request. So
which is
a public records request. So
Yeah.
You have to tiptoe sometimes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what do you do over the summer then?
So over the summer, I do. I do take a lot of my vacation time over the summer, but I do go to all my training in the summer for the most part. The police department has scheduled all the training that I have to do for my yearly updates as well as for my SRO updates. There's usually 1 to 2 conferences that me and the other SROs will go to. They're about a week long usually. Starr County Sheriff's Department, they do put on a training session too, usually about a week or 2 before school starts. That's almost every SRO in Starr County that attends that, including like we have like the juvenile prosecutor will come in. They'll go over new laws with us and new regulations and how they want to see certain things done and handled throughout the year. So I think initially, as of right now, I have a vacation day for that day, but I'll probably end up canceling that because that's actually important to me that I'm there to know what the updates are and I can ask the questions I think I need to ask, with the head honchos there. So.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And you can DJ then over the summer.
The side hustle, yeah.
The side hustle, yes.
Oh, that's funny. So how many resource officers are there for the North Canton district, and how do you split it up between like all the primary, the intermediate, the middle school?
So right now we currently have 4 full-time resource officers and we have 2 subs. We do have our own supervisor that oversees the SRO division. So right now the original bidding was done probably by seniority based. Officer Taylor got first pick, I got second, and then it was Officer Kakulis and Officer Maley at the time. Officer Taylor was the only officer certified to teach DARE, and DARE was needed. It's needed at the middle school and in the intermediate school. So a couple years ago, I think it was during COVID actually, is when the chief asked us, what are your guys' thoughts about bringing DARE back? And myself and Officer Taylor, I think I can speak for him, when we talked at the time, we both agreed there is a place for it.
What is it?
Yes, what is DARE?
We don't know what DARE is.
DARE was a program that started in the early, I can't even tell you when it started actually, but it's for kids against drug resistance, drugs and violence. Mm-hmm. They go over all that stuff with them as a kid, and we try to prevent you from going down that path of going into the gateway drugs and getting further deep down the rabbit hole. So Officer Taylor does teach them about, not only just drugs at this point, safe cell phones, safe internet, safe, stranger danger. I mean, he goes over a variety of things. In DARE was, a lot of people had controversial issues over it. They're like, do we do it? Do we not do it? In high school, it's a little hard to teach that stuff because you guys are now, with technology and everything, you're relying on your phones, you're relying on, MTV, you're relying on your friends and, what other opinions. If we can talk to these kids at a younger age, we can get to them. Mm-hmm. And it shows that it works. So we did bring it back. We do it off. I think they were looking to put a second dare officer in. We did have Officer Maley, but he recently resigned, and he's seeked other job opportunities at this point. But I'm pretty sure they're going to put someone else in just to be specific for the intermediate school. But you have me here at the high school, which I love. That's my home. You have Officer Taylor at the middle school, and we have Officer Kukulis at the primary, and we have Officer Lowe at the intermediate.
Okay, so we have one for each school pretty much.
Yeah,
so
that's
we're
you
lucky.
have someone in each building, so.
That's awesome.
Well, what is your favorite thing about being a resource officer?
My favorite thing is coming in and seeing everybody every day, and knowing that I am making a difference in their lives. I have kids that do have to see me every day. They come up just to check in with me, and, probably the funnest time of the day is lunchroom because I'll have about 100 people come up to me and just let me know, got a new job, got a new car, had a baby brother, took a new selfie today, whatever the case may be. But it's seeing everybody, interacting, building the relationships. I have kids that have graduated that, they see me, years later and, have a great relationship with them still. So it's building that rapport, that relationship with all you guys.
Well, that's awesome.
Is that what makes Hoover special to you? Like, specifically Hoover?
Yeah. So, the kids. So, I tell, when people ask me, and I have parents ask me too, they're like, well, if this was your kid, I was like, listen, these are all my kids, and I tell kids this all the time. I said, listen, in 20 years, I'm still Officer Mike to you. I was like, you guys are still all my babies. So,
that's so funny.
And some students in the school, I may never even talk to or ever interact with, and they may not need that, but there's a good group of them that, do need that interaction every day.
And you're making an impact on them.
And that's what counts. So.
Yes. Thank you so much, Officer Ataya, for joining us today. We appreciate everything you've done for our school. That is it for this episode of Hoover Highlights. Keep an eye out for new episodes on our YouTube channel and other social media platforms. Have a great day.